Hello. Hi. I feel like the tone of this song is more fitting than it's ever been, which is funny, because, you know, it's not like it shouldn't feel, or maybe should feel? It's not like it should feel out of place, I guess, is what I mean to say, because, I don't know, I've had this song playing at the start of my stream for what, like 3 streams now? Makes it too sad? Hey, Dick. Yeah, man, I don't know. So I've known that this was going to be the case for, like, the full week. You know, I should probably... Let's just get into the game. Let's get into the game. Let's fucking cut the sappy music. I'm doing the End Is Nigh because, like, I don't know. Like, I could have done The Hobbit, but I feel like it's more appropriate for my stream if I just... Like, I don't know. I feel like The Hobbit is too... It has too much of an aura of me focusing on, like, the views, and I don't care if anybody watches this, honestly. That's probably how it should be. There you go. I think I did everything right. I need to start my arbitrary timer. Yeah, okay. So I wanna get into this right at the start so that, like, I don't know, because this will be, like, the video that stays up on my YouTube channel as the most recent video for at least a year. I don't know, I might upload, like, some random bullshit to my YouTube channel. Music's also a little quiet. I can tolerate turning it up slightly. I feel like I never really got the hang of my audio balance. Well, that's okay. Okay, Super Mega Cart. That's the one. That's the one that I have no progress on. I haven't done anything. None of the objectives on. That's the one. Man, I can't believe. I mean, for one, I guess I can believe it. I was gonna say I can't believe this cart is still the only thing I have left to do in this game. I guess it's not that surprising when, like, I very rarely played this game, and when I did, there was, like, at the very least, like, I don't know, like a month's break in between play sessions. I mean, I went hard on the End Is Nigh for a while when I was doing the harder cart. But, I don't know, that harder cart is, like, where I was emotionally tapped out. Like, once I had done that, I was like, I'm done with this game, more or less. But I don't know, I did the harder one, I might as well do the easier one, right? So that would be a great way to cap things off on my my streaming journey, temporarily at least, is to finally get around to finishing this. Not a good start, already dying in the first area, but that's okay. All right, so yeah, I'm already stalling a little bit. I should just address the matter at hand as to why I'm not going to be able to stream for, like, at the very least a year. I don't know. It's kind of up in the air because, like, I am probably going to discuss it with the apartment that I'm moving into as to if there's anything that can be done to make it so that we can switch internet service providers, but it's entirely up to the apartment complex whether they want to do that. This is awesome, dude. So yeah, I mean, that's the issue right there, is that when I was searching for apartments, like, the one thing that I made it clear to, like, every leasing agent I talked to was that I needed to use AT&T, which is, like, I mean, you know, I get that this is very dependent on where you live, but at least where I live, there's only 2 options for ISPs. 2 reasonable options. Obviously, like, every place has a bunch of incredibly overpriced, shitty options, but as far as, like, the usable options that we have where I live, we have AT&T, and we have Xfinity. Now, Xfinity, as far as I'm aware, this is, like, it's not just a localized problem, it's just a problem with Xfinity as a whole. So I imagine that this will be understandable. This is so good, dude. This will be an understandable issue to anybody who lives where there's Xfinity, and God forbid Xfinity is your only option. Yeah, I'll go ahead and use a continue here. Xfinity has a problem where they just don't have upload speed. Like, that's the funny joke they do. Is, you know, they have different plans for scaling your download speed, but there's, like, negative bandwidth as far as upload goes. And it's super inconsistent, too. Like, when we had... Because, like, when I very first started streaming, we had Xfinity, and we were on a plan that had, like, 30-something upload megabits per second. 30 megabits per second upload, and most I ever got was like 5, maybe less than that. But the most I got is not what's most important here. I think it's much more pertinent to talk about what the least I got was, because that's probably more often what I got was like the lower end of the bargain. So if I was lucky, I would get 5 megabits up. But there were frequent, like, you know, it was probably to some degree throttling, because, like, it happened almost instantly every time I streamed, but you can never get it out of the ISP whether or not they are throttling you, because, like, I don't know, at least it used to be illegal. I'm pretty sure the law has changed on that, so it's no longer illegal to just throttle whatever the fuck they want. But anyways, at the time, I think it was illegal. Doesn't really matter. Point is, whenever I would go live, I would, like, my upload speed would drop well below 1 megabit per second, to the point where, if I was streaming, which was often the case when it happened, like I said, my stream would go offline for seconds, minutes at a time. It would come back on for like a few seconds, minutes, and then go back off. It was just like repeated outages over and over again. And I guess I kind of tolerated it for a little bit, you know, when that was like all we had, and I didn't even know that AT&T was a better option. So I did like a handful of streams like that. But then once I started to, like, you know, think about it for a few seconds and be like, well, I guess once I kind of decided, like, is streaming something I care to continue doing? Is more accurately what the conversation I had in my head was. And it landed on yes. And so I made an effort to, you know, research what other ISPs we have in the area, found out AT&T was a better option. They have, like, significantly better deals that... I mean, for one, I was getting more download speed for cheaper as well, but they also just, like, more or less equally scale their upload bandwidth with download. So, yeah, we switched to AT&T, like, almost, I don't know, within, like, probably the first month of me starting streaming. And I don't know if I feel comfortable going back to, like, I don't know. I already, like, I'm so in my own head about the content that I make on my stream at this point that I don't know if I could tolerate, like, every single stream I do having, you know, multiple minutes of outages where I just, you know, I don't even know if what I'm saying is reaching Twitch, let alone anybody that's watching on the other end, right? So, I mean, that's just, I don't know. That just kind of makes it so I can't stream, is the end of the story. And you might say, oh, just lower your bitrate so that you're streaming at, like, fucking 5 kilobits per second or something. Yeah, maybe I could do that. Maybe I could lower my bitrate so that everything is like one of those puzzles you have to squint your eyes at to figure out what's going on. That could be a funny bit for, like, one stream, maybe. But, I think the other thing worth noting is that all of the problems I mentioned us having with Xfinity were on a plan that gave us what was advertised as 35 megabits per second, which, me living on my own now is a little bit out of my weight class. So I would probably end up going with the internet plan that gives me 5. megabits per second download, maybe 10 if I wanted to splurge a little bit. I could consider upgrading to the 10, but I again just don't see how that would be possible to stream with when even at 35, you know, it was so awful and inconsistent that it was impossible, more or less. I mean, I don't know. I could have kept streaming, but it's just such, like, bad quality content. Like, I don't know. I fucking hate technical issues at all. Like, on that itch.io stream, the last itch.io stream I did, I was, like, so defeated after realizing that my headphones weren't playing audio for me. Like, that even though I fixed it, I still didn't really feel like streaming afterwards just because the technical issue had happened. And if there were just, like, multiple, you know, stream-ending technical issues completely out of my control happening as a result of my internet, like, even if I made the promise that I would want to stream more, I would never fucking stream. So I feel like it's just a more accurate and safer bet to just be upfront with it and say, I'm not gonna stream. Cause I don't know. I don't even really want to try. I know what it's gonna be like, and it would just be really, I don't know, I feel like it would be sadder for me to, like, go out trying my hardest when I know it's completely futile than just accept it, you know? And just understand that it's not gonna work, and that's okay. Awesome jumping here, by the way. Just, like, take the slightest delay with your movement, please. The easiest diagonals of all time. Anyways, okay, I'm turning the music down again. It's loud now. I don't like it anymore. There you go. You had enough of the music playing over me. It's my turn to talk, game. You've had plenty of options to play your music as loud and obnoxiously as you want. I've certainly been stuck on this mega cart for longer than I probably should have, given the length of time it took me to do the more difficult one. But that's neither here nor there. I don't know. I think that's all I really have to say about the lack of streaming. Like, it is a bummer. Like, I guess I'll talk a little bit about my mentality too, and why I'm not so upset this time. Well, obviously, there's a number of I'd say this time. There were a number of reasons that led to me being quite upset with when I took my last hiatus. This hiatus is on much better terms, for one. Like, I feel like my mentality towards streaming was significantly healthier this time around. I still let it get to my head because, to some degree, I just really think that it's, at least for myself, like, I'm not gonna say as human beings it's impossible to not get affected by these kinds of things, because I've talked to multiple people about this subject, and, I seem to be like the outlier in the situation that streams affect my mental health more than other people's, it would seem. But anyways, that's beside the point, because I've been better about it this time around after the break. Like, I think the break really helped, and I think that, I don't know, just my attitude towards streaming changed over the break that made it, I don't know, not feel as bad at the situation with my stream that I was in. I got to this area, which is, I think this is usually, no, I think I usually got, like, one area past this. I was consistently getting to the final area when I was doing this regularly, but I don't know. I guess I never really did this one regularly, but more regularly than than currently. Anyways, yeah, so I'm not too bummed out about taking a break for multiple reasons. One is that, like, I don't know, last break felt like sick as hell, dude. Like, I might lean towards the notion that I started up streaming again a little bit too soon. Like, 6 months was, it's not that, it's a long break, don't get me wrong. And especially, like, on the internet, time is, I don't know, if you're gone for a second, you're gone for a year, right? But I feel like I probably would have done better by myself to take a slightly longer break than 6 months of no streaming. What am I doing here? This is scuffed. I missed my normal timing window. So for one, yeah, like, I don't know. I just feel better when I don't have to think about streaming. Like, I've been so stressed with everything relating to moving, on top of, like, trying to desperately figure out how to make my own game engine. By the way, for those wondering how that's going, since I've just not really talked about it for a long-ass time, because it's, like, a bit of a sore subject matter, so it's not going very well. Yeah, I think I give up. Not on making games. I think I give up on wanting to make my own engine. There are a lot of reasons that I would still love to make my own engine, but the more I think about it, and the more I think about the situation I'm in, the more I'm like, that is just way too much time commitment that's going to drag on getting an actual product out there, and the end result is, you know, all I really care about is making games. I don't really care about, like, anything under the hood. I mean, it certainly makes my life easier as far as making the games if I have more control over certain aspects of the engine. Like, I really, truly despise a lot of things that Unity does. But I think that I can handle it better than I did. Like, I think I was too easy to fall into the Unity systems that they already had in place. Despite, like, self-advocating, like, don't do that. Like, I knew that the Unity systems were not great. Like, the input system is janky. I don't know, the input system's one of the better ones, so I just don't really like the way it handles controller inputs more than anything, but it's not that bad. The biggest ones are, like, its state-based animation system that's not really a state-based animation system. The way it handles collisions, I really don't like. I feel like the way it handles collisions is entirely due to, like, its own physics engine, and like, everything is set so that it works nicely with that. But, like, why on earth is there not just a function call to get every single collider that is touching another collider? The only way you can do that, at least with the version of Unity that I have, the only way that you can get a collected list of everything that is touching a hitbox, seems like pretty valuable information for a hitbox, right? The only way you can get that info is if you make that list yourself, by every time something enters the hitbox, like, you know, keeping that data somewhere in some sort of container. That was awesome. But another problem is that, like, Unity hitboxes are just kind of really bad in, like, a lot of mysterious ways that I still don't understand. There were a lot of collision issues with Bounty Below's dungeon mode that I never really figured out why they were happening, but I just, like, you know, after brutes, like, I was gonna say, brute strength efforts of, like, forcing it, but it was really a lot of brute strength efforts of searching what other people had done to fix this issue, because as far as I can tell, like, no one else really knows the cause of the issue either. But, the issue is, at least with the kind of rigid body colliders that I was using. I mean, maybe I was using, like, the wrong type of colliders for my hitbox code, or whatever you want to blame the reason on. Point is, if you have a dynamic rigid body, which means it's like an object that plans to move, like it wants to move around at some point, and you just have, like, a regular, like, box collider on it, if that object is, like, stationary, sometimes it just doesn't update its hitbox. Like, I don't know, like, when you specify that the hitbox is going to be dynamic, if at any moment it is not dynamic, it's like, well, I fucking wrote that down, bitch. You told me this bullet would be moving, but it's stationary, so I don't know what to do with that. I guess I'm just, like, not gonna collide with anything ever? Like, there's a lot of projectiles in the Dungeons mode that are either, like, some of them are bound to your character, so if your character is not moving, the projectile is not going to be moving. And a lot of projectiles also, like, slow down. But also, like, aside from projectiles, I also had, like, just a generic, like, I don't know, like a prefabbed object that I copy-pasted for, like, a lot of the enemies and a lot of the, like, stationary props in the world. Because I think at some point, like, I had the thought that I was going to make, like, some moving props as well, but I never got around to it. So I just left the dynamic tag on the stationary props as well, and, like, there were many cases where you would, like, attack a prop that you should be able to, like, do damage to and kill, but, like, all of your projectiles would go straight through it, not do any damage. That was also related to the dynamic versus static rigid body thing, so I don't know. I kind of, there's a lot of shitty things that I don't like about Unity, but I'm willing to forgive at this point, because the difficulties that come with making my own engine from scratch, especially the way I'm trying to do it, it's gonna take significantly longer than it would to just, like, deal with workarounds to Unity's awful systems, or, you know, alternatively just write my own systems on top of Unity so I don't have to use their garbage systems, which is probably what I'm gonna do for a lot of things. But we'll see. You know, it doesn't really matter. Point is, probably gonna go back to Unity. It's just, like, the better option. Like, I just want to make games, you know? I don't want to spend a year, 2 years, however long it takes me to make my own engine while working a full-time job. So I'm gonna go back to Unity, and my cat wants out. One sec. This is it, buddy. This is your last opportunity to say something to the adoring crowd. For like a year, at least. Is there anything you want to say? No. No. He doesn't want to say anything. So yeah, that's how that's been going. Though, honestly, the bulk of the stress has been, like, I've been so focused on the moving bullshit that, I haven't been focusing too much on making my game engine either, or pivoting to Unity or anything. Like, I did get decent work done on my engine. Like, it's not like I wasted all that time. I do have a much better understanding. What the fuck? I didn't press that input. I do have a much better understanding of OpenGL and how renderers work and how shaders work, so it's not like it was all wasted. I got a lot of practice in with coding shaders, so that's nice. Yeah, anything else related to that? I don't think so. I think I'm done with... Ooh, nice here. I think I'm done with the that part of discussion. Mostly stressed about moving, which has been a lot. I mean, I'll talk about how my day went today eventually, but yeah, things have been rough. So I wanted to stream. I was hoping to stream like a couple of times, maybe even a few times this week, knowing it was going to be my last week to stream. But I honestly, like, for one, I've been busy. So, I mean, that's the primary reason right there. But I probably could have squeezed in, like, a short hour stream, maybe a couple times the week. But I didn't. Because, like, I'll be honest, this kind of feels like... It feels like I put my 2 weeks notice in. Like, this feels exactly how I felt at GameStop after I had let Drake know that I was quitting. Like, I'm mentally checked out of streaming. I was trying to I procrastinated the shit out of doing this stream and was trying to figure out every possible workaround to not have to be here. But here I am. I don't know, it's not like I hate streaming that much. Like, it's not like the idea of doing this final send-off stream was that miserable, but it also is kind of like, I don't know. I think it's easier to convince yourself that that streaming is gonna be a fun time when, like, that's something you do. Like, you know, when streaming is something I did and could do and knew that I would continue to do, I'm like, yeah, fuck it, I'll do a quick stream. But, like, in the midst of probably the most stressful week I've ever lived through, there's been way too many things have gone wrong. In the midst of one of the most stressful weeks I've ever lived through, trying to get everything sorted out and fix every single hole that keeps showing up in my ship, it did not once strike my mind that a stream would be an enjoyable time in the moment. So I didn't. I didn't, believe it or not. But I did feel like it was right to do one final send-off stream, so here I am. And it's not even like I'm miserable right now, it's just like, I don't know, it's just got a weird feeling to it. It really does feel like I'm clocked out in a job that I no longer have anymore. Not that I don't ever plan on coming back to streaming. Like, I probably will at some point. I guess I'll talk a little bit about that mentality as well, too. I think, like, so and I've said this so many times. I've said this, I don't know, at least an amount of times that would take two hands to count. I've said this on my stream. That I truly, firmly believe that if you actually care about growing an audience and having people see the content you make on Twitch, the answer is not to stream, which is probably counterintuitive to most things in life. In almost every other case, the more you do something, the more you get out of it. And to some degree, that can be true with streaming, but you have to, like, I don't know, it's so luck-based that, like, sure, you know, the more times you spend, you know, $10 on a spin of the lotto, the more likely it is that eventually you're going to win, you know? But at the same time, like, unless you have an infinite amount of money, it's probably not an appealing idea to spend $10 30 times a day every day of your life until you eventually get that jackpot. So yeah, that's kind of how I view streaming. It's gambling. Like, when you don't have an audience, you're essentially just gambling to see if you get one. If you exclusively just stream on Twitch, the platform, or other platforms, I would imagine, are pretty similar, and don't do anything outside of streaming to try and, like, garner attention. If you're, like, playing the networking game, you can get, I'm sure, more consistent results, but I just don't care for that kind of thing and think it's kind of gross. So, that's not really applicable to me. But if you want to do that, do your thing. I mean, I did try and do things outside of Twitch. Like, that was close. I still, I did the TikTok thing for a little bit. I've got, like, a handful of TikToks that I'm still debating, at this point, debating on if I'm ever going to actually upload them. I've got, like, the clips that I downloaded from Twitch, but I don't know. It's so much effort to edit them, send them to my phone. edit them on TikTok, download them from TikTok so that I can put them back on YouTube as YouTube Shorts. It's a bit of a chore. And if I am no longer in the position where I really care about streaming that much, it's even more of a chore to think about doing something like that. But yeah, it's not to say that I am never going to come back to streaming, but it might be the case that I would only come back to streaming at a point where I could guarantee I have some level of audience, which may never happen. So maybe this might be the last stream I ever do. Because, like, I can't see myself taking a year or over a year-long break and then deciding to be content going back to exactly how things were. It's not like things are awful as they are. Like, I could have been completely content if I had just kept up this routine of, like, you know, once every week, maybe twice every week, forever, until maybe I do, you know, win that lottery and pick up an audience that way. But, I can't be too upset about the way things are unfolding, knowing that, like, I've got other things that are probably much more important that I should be focusing on, for a number of reasons. One is that, like, the likelihood of those things turning into an actual career is infinitely more plausible. And beyond that, if those things did turn into an actual career, then I could also incredibly easily pivot to streaming as well. And that would be a much better way to do streaming than just pulling that fucking crank every day hoping to get the lottery, right? So that's why I'm not too bummed out about the way things went. Like, it is shitty, don't get me wrong. It still upsets me that the leasing agent I got was a little bit intentionally vague about the internet situation, so that I would be, you know, I would find the place more amenable than it actually was. I can do this, right? Yeah, there you go. Cause yeah, I don't know. If they were upfront about only having Xfinity, I might have thought twice. But it's such a nice place. Like, it really is. It's a pretty nice place to start out living on my own. And also, I say on my own, I just, like, you know, I was desperate to find a place that my girlfriend and I could move into. So, another huge reason that it's hard to be upset by this whole not being able to stream thing is, like, yeah, you know, that sucks, but on the other hand, like, I'm gonna be living with the person I love, so, I don't know, things are, on one hand, I don't get to stream to 1 or 2 viewers, on the other hand, I get to go to bed next to someone that I can kiss, so, I think that it's a little bit unevenly distributed there. I'm definitely more excited about the prospect of moving in with my girlfriend than I am disappointed I'm not going to be able to stream. So yeah, I think that kind of, like, covers mentality and the situation and all of that fun stuff. So now I can talk about the misery that I've been living through. So for one, there's an issue with my bank account that, like, I probably, and this is my fault, I probably should have gotten it sorted out, like, years ago, because it's been a persisting issue. It's not that big of a deal. Like, I could live with it, and I probably am at this point going to have to live with it, depending on how it can be sorted out. But point is, I was, like, I procrastinated it for longer than I should, so the issue has become a lot worse than it would have otherwise if I had just handled this earlier in life. But point is, there's an issue with my bank account that I need to go to the bank to get sorted, and my mom needs to be there. The issue is related to the account technically being in her name, because I was a minor when we set up my bank account. So I need her to be there to get things sorted out, because she needs to close the account, and then the assets need to be put into a new account that I need to start. Which is fine. Probably fine. Depends on... And I'm dead. Oh, I have a 0th life, I forgot. Depends on how things are going to be sorted. That was an awesome 0th life. If my checking account needs to be changed, then I'm probably not going to be able to do it. Because I just set up a bunch of, auto payments with my debit card and some direct deposits from my checking account. So if that all needs to be changed, then I'm just not going to deal with it for, at least a month or so. Which is related to another issue. You might say, oh, it's not that big of a deal. Just, swap the cards out and swap the checking account, whatever, who cares? But, yeah, I don't know. There's another issue that I'll get to. But first, to compound the issues together into this big ball of stress that has become my life for this week, we need to talk about me desperately trying to get to the bank account with my mom. The bank account which closes at 5. Because of course it does. I don't really know. I mean, sure, I guess it's like a regular business that has regular business working hours, but if I were in charge of a bank, I would probably make it so that it opens a little bit later and closes a little bit later. Because, my mom, who also works a regular 9-to-5 job, could not easily get to the bank with me. So that's been part of the issue, is trying to get to the bank to sort this out. The other part of the issue is my electric company, which I set up a couple days ago, 2 days ago at this point. I set up my electrical... Well, sorry, to get to the point, why didn't you set up your electrical company earlier? Because I also have been dealing with, a fairly slow leasing agent that has not gotten us the lease in a timely manner, which I already kind of talked about 2 streams ago. I haven't even talked about the Crix interview, which I don't think there's too much to say about the Crix interview, other than I thought it went really well, and was glad to get one final interview in before not being able to stream for a year and a half. Anyways, yeah, the Crix interview went great, but prior to that stream, I'm pretty sure I mentioned, how long it took the leasing agent to get us the lease. So only just recently were we able to sign the lease, and I mentioned that I don't feel comfortable setting up, an electric company with the... For one, can I just slight aside here? Can I just talk about how dumb it is that Texas has privatized electricity companies, which I know is not going to be relatable to a lot of people, so I guess I should mention it now. I'm sure there might be some confusion when I say electric company. Texas has a privatized electricity grid because Texas does not think that you should have a right to electricity in your home, and they don't believe that there should be government-ordained federal standards over that kind of thing. So it is the Wild West of electricity here, and I have to pay extra for my electricity bill just to ensure that I'm on a flat rate. That doesn't mean that they won't charge me for an extended period of time, but I at least pay my electric bill at a flat rate. So what that means is if, for whatever reason, say, I don't know, there's a statewide power outage, if there happened to be one of those, and I was lucky, and I got, a few hours of power here and there, it would actually be a bit of a curse, because you can almost guarantee that the price of electricity would skyrocket during those outages, leaving to, I don't know, bills that are approximately thousands of times more expensive than they would normally otherwise be. But I would at least pay the bills at a flat rate. That does mean that I would be, trapped into, plausibly permanent debt that I would slowly have to pay off over years of my life, but that's just how electricity works in Texas, for those wondering. Anyways, there are non-flat rate electric companies as well, where they can just wildly change the the price of the bill you get every month, depending on the price of electricity. Those are awesome. Don't recommend, by the way, but those are pretty awesome. Just one of those quirky things capitalism does. Anyways, so yeah, I've been dealing with the electric company, which everything seemed fine. I set it up through their website. There were no issues. I got confirmation in my email saying, all right, we'll hook up your electricity in like a day or two's time. So I was just waiting on that. But I couldn't sign up through their website to set up my auto pay. Like, on their website, they say you need an account number to sign up, and I was like, well, I was never given an account number, so I waited a couple days thinking, maybe they just don't give you an account number until your electricity is actually set up, whatever. I was naive to the situation, but I waited a couple days, and then I gave them a call today. Saying, hey, I'm just trying to set up this auto pay thing because I set up my account with auto pay to get like a discount. I think it's like a microscopic discount. It was like 0.01 cents per kilowatt taken off the bill or something. Whatever. Anyways, so yeah, I wanted to set up the auto pay just for peace of mind as well. I didn't want to, miss an electric bill or anything and have them shut it off, obviously. So, yeah, I gave them a call today and was like, hey, I never got any account number to sign up on your website for. And the lady on the other end was just like, oh, you should have gotten an account number. And I was just like, okay, well, I got like a confirmation number when I signed up for it. Is that what you want? And she was like, no. I mean, I gave her my confirmation number and everything that I had, and she was like, well, that doesn't seem right. At this point, I had no idea what possibly could have gone wrong. I just figured it was some issue on their end, right? So yeah, she asked me some questions. She asked me what the last 4 of my social were. She asked me what address the power was going to be delivered to. And both of those questions I stuttered on a little bit because I don't really know my social off the top of my head. That's not the kind of number I'm grabbing every day to get it to the point where it's locked in memory or anything. You don't frequently need your social security number. So, yeah, I had to go get my card to figure out what my number was. And then also, I stuttered a little bit when I said what the new address was, because it's a new address. Like, pardon me for not immediately thinking of what the new address I'm going to be moving into was. Haven't even moved in yet. But she very clearly seemed to think that was suspicious. She put me on hold, waited like 5 minutes or so, and when she came back, she said, it looks like your account's been canceled on the base of fraudulent activity. Which got me pretty upset because I need the electricity to be on in my apartment to move in. If the lights don't turn on when I show up at my apartment to move in on Saturday, then I will not be allowed to move into the apartment. And my mom already got like a U-Haul van scheduled for that day as well. So like, I there would be a lot of pretty frustrating annoyances and payments that we would have to cancel over not being able to move in on the date we specified, entirely just because I seemed fraudulent over the phone when giving my information that I had. I had all the information. I gave her everything she asked for, but I guess it wasn't good enough. So anyways, yeah, she canceled my account. And it definitely, I mean, she, to feign ignorance a little bit, said it seems like your account has been canceled due to fraudulent activity, as if she had absolutely nothing to do with it. I got an email as soon as she said that to me. So, like, it was obviously as a result of the call that she was suspicious and got it called in to be canceled for whatever reason. I mean, what kind of fraud is that? Like, I'm going to fraudulently pay for someone else's electric bill? I don't understand. Like, I was the person trying to set up payment. I don't get it. Anyways, so they thought I was a fraud. I then had to prove through a series of other emails showing various identification of myself that I am who I say I am, and I do need the power on in a couple of days. So, yes, basically, she was like, I'm sorry. She seemed flustered and apologized at the end after me proving that I'm a fucking real human being trying to move into a new place. And she was like, we will try our hardest to get the power on in 24 hours, but if we can't, it might take up until Monday, which is, yeah, I don't know. I don't need I'm sure the frustration is coming through well enough. I don't need to go super hard into how frustrating it is to deal with just a complete fabricated issue that they thought I sounded fraudulent over the phone, so they abruptly canceled. And I had also, by the way, paid an additional $15 to expedite the process of them turning on my power in the first place. Like, when I signed up for the electric company, they were like, well, if you don't really care that much, we'll set it up for free, but if you need it to be done in 1 or 2 days' notice, you can pay $15. So I did. And now, all of a sudden, that means nothing because they canceled everything. I still paid the $15, and they're gonna try their hardest to get it done in a day's notice. Yeah, so that was dumb. Still dealing with that. Hopefully they get it set up by tomorrow. If they don't get it set up by tomorrow, I'm gonna have to do some very angry phone calls, and if that still doesn't work, then I don't know, I'm probably gonna have to have some very angry conversations with my leasing agent until they let me into my own apartment to at least, like, drop off my stuff. Like, sure, you might not give me the keys or let me live in there for the night, but, like, we've got a moving van. We would like to move the stuff inside there at the very least. Anyways, we'll deal with it, I'm sure. But, yeah, that was, like, an issue that popped out of nowhere for seemingly no reason. Just to kind of spit on my day and make everything harder. So I dealt with that. I was like, that's what I did first thing this morning. Immediately afterwards, this was the day my mom agreed that we could go to the bank. We go to the bank, and they're booked. So for one, this is where you say, well, why didn't you get an appointment, right? For one, at first I had called about the issue thinking that we could resolve the issue with the bank account over the phone, but they were like, no, you need to come in. I specifically asked if we needed an appointment for this kind of thing, and I was told, no, it doesn't take too long. You shouldn't need an appointment. Whatever. I needed an appointment. We get to the bank. They say they're full, but beyond that, so at this point I was still thinking, like, they could just, like, I don't know, just, like, separate our accounts so that my mom doesn't have complete access to, like, all of my bank information and can take money as she pleases, which she has done in the past, has used both my sister and mine's bank account as, like, a bit of a buffer, which she pays us back, but she also doesn't have the best memory at times, and at least once or twice I've had to remind her to be like, hey, you took, like, a couple $100 out of my bank account. You gonna give that back? And she does, but, you know, it's just not something I want to deal with when I'm not even living with her anymore. So, would like to get the bank thing situated. Anyways, yeah, I thought, like, maybe they could just separate the accounts, but apparently the only way to fix it is I'm going to have to close the account, and open a new one, which if it touches my checking account at all, it might just be my savings account, which is fine. If I just have to, like, close my savings account and open a new one that I can still tie to, like, my old checking account, then there's no problem. But I can guarantee there will be a problem if I need to get a new checking account with a new debit card and everything. Because I've already, for literally no reason whatsoever, been told that I sound fraudulent for setting up my electricity company. This is awesome jumping here. Why don't he jump when I press button? Dude, am I losing it? Hello? Is it because the platform's moving down that I need to, like, jump sooner than I think I do? Lost, like, 8 lives. 9 lives? A full 10 lives here? This is awesome. Dude, I just can't. I just can't do it for whatever reason. That just felt really awkward there. Anyways, what else was I saying? Yeah, if I need to set up a new checking account and debit card and everything, I just can't do it. Because I got called out for being fraudulent for absolutely nothing. It will definitely seem like fraudulent activity if I, at the last second, have to change my, debit card that I put in as payment to a different one. So I'm just not gonna deal with that, because if they set up the electricity and then I change the debit card and they're like, now we're taking that back, sorry buddy, and I can no longer move into the apartment, I think I would have an aneurysm. So if it touches my checking account, I'm just gonna avoid it. I also need a cashier's check, which is a concept I'd never heard of until a few days ago. I need a cashier's check from the bank for my first month's rent payment. So yeah, I guess I'll get that sorted as well when I go to the bank eventually. But yeah, I don't know. I've been stressed. Today especially has just been one of the most stressful days for no reason. Just no reason did any of this have to happen. But I'm getting it worked out, I guess, slowly but surely. On the ride home from the bank, my mom gave me a nice lecture about how this is just how life is, and then proceeded to complain about how bad her week has been, which is like, thanks, Mom. It really puts it into perspective for me. You're making me feel way better about this kind of thing. Anyways. So yeah, let's stop talking about moving and stressful shit and talk about dumb shit that doesn't matter. Because that's the kind of shit that I prefer to talk about on my stream. I mean, I'll talk about anything, but it's less than pleasant to talk about this stuff that I'm actively dealing with right now. Oh god, and I'm like definitely not looking forward to having to pick up my girlfriend at like midnight tomorrow, because that's the only available ticket that it was from Seattle to Houston. Whatever. I'll deal with it. Honestly, it's probably better to go there at midnight. It's not going to be as crowded, hopefully. I hate driving, and I hate the airport especially. I don't know, airports in general. Maybe it's not airports. I guess I've only really experienced 3-4 airports in my life. But, well, at least as far as I remember. I hate driving through them. Miserable. And I've only driven through one of them. But I get the vibe from the experiences riding in the back that driving through all airports seems to be awful hellscape. So, yeah, I don't know. And the last time we picked up my girlfriend from the airport, there was, like, construction at the airport. So, like, you couldn't even get to the fucking terminal that she was getting off at. It was awesome. I hope that's still the case. That'll be pretty epic. Anyways, I'm like... I'm so past it at this point. Like, I'll just take anything. Like, just fuck me up, dude. Just give me the most miserable experience for the rest of my life. I've fully attuned to this lifestyle now. I'm not focused on the game at all. And honestly, like, I don't know. Do I have much else to say? Like I said, I'll run this life out, but I'm not going to try too much harder. I don't know. I'm here as some feeling of commitment, but I'm also like, I'm pretty mentally checked out in general from everything else going on right now, and I'm especially mentally checked out from the idea of streaming. Like, I put in my 2 weeks notice, dude. I am out of here, and I'm gonna be focusing on other projects, games primarily, but there are some other things I would like to work on. that I haven't worked on in ages. Like, I actually drew shit. Like, I drew pictures. I used to have more of a focus on my art skills that I haven't touched in ages. And I did animations as well, too. Well, obviously, I did animations for games, but I did just animations for fun as well, because I like animating. It's kind of miserable, doing in-between frames, but, like, it's nice when you're doing the keyframes and you get, like, cool pictures to move nicely. It feels good afterwards, like, getting a really good animation. Improving at animation feels so much more rewarding than improving at art. Because, like, I don't know, I feel like there's so much more leeway in animation. Like, you can really go buck wild with in-between frames and keyframes. But you don't have to try as hard. Like, to get a good-looking animation, you can have a lot of stills in there that are, like, really rough. And sometimes that adds, like, nice texture. But not every single frame has to be, like, an incredibly polished masterpiece. Which is what I try to do whenever I'm just drawing, like, a standalone picture, which takes ages and is usually just, like, the most soul-rending experience of all time. Like, I don't know what it is about just, like, art in general, just, like, it's so hard to be satisfied with anything you do. Like, I think it's just because, like, it's so obviously apparent. I'm sure the same thing happens with other art forms, like making music, too, I would imagine. But, like, when I make games, like, well, obviously the things that I don't like about it stand out the most, but, like, I don't know, for whatever reason, when I make a shitty game like Chromoblast or Bounty Below, I don't feel too beat up about it, or about my ability to make games, because, like, I guess for one is that I know I can make better than what I've made so far, so maybe that's just, like, my mentality towards it is different, but for art, like, I know I can't make better. Like, when I'm fully committing to a piece of artwork, I put absolutely everything into it, and when it ends up being, like, awful, and many times I'll just scrap it because I'm not happy with how it's turning out, it's just so hard to satisfy myself when it comes to art. Animation's better as far as, like, my mentality towards it and thinking that I'm improving, whereas, like, I don't know, it's really hard to see your own improvements with art. Like, I definitely have improved, and when I look at some of, like, the standalone images I've drawn, like, years ago, compared to, like, the stuff I can do in, like, recent memory, it's definitely better, like, by a lot. But it just doesn't feel like it when you're doing it. And it's especially frustrating when, like, you know, even simple stuff like well, I say simple, there's nuance to it, and it's difficult work, don't get me wrong, but relatively simple stuff, like just getting a character's pose right, like, I guess it's not simple. Like, I don't want to, like, posing is really fucking hard, so I don't want it to sound like I'm I don't know, like I'm above posing or anything. I'm obviously not. I'm really, really bad at posing, and, like, all aspects of just drawing, like, a human figure is very difficult, even with reference. But I guess posing seems like it would be simpler than things like, I don't know, color theory or just, like, shading in general. I don't know, maybe shading seems easier than posing. I'm so bad at everything with art. Anyways, yeah, it's hard to feel satisfaction, and especially when you're, like, just really trying, because, like, I feel like I've got a pretty good mental image of these things, and, like, I can visualize an apple, believe it or not. I feel like, and I'm sure that it's, like, dream logic, right, where in your head you think you can see, like, a really clear picture of what you're trying to draw, but in actuality it's like dreams, and that it's like, if you could take a mental snapshot of what your brain is actually visualizing, it would be some horrid monster creature that looks nothing like a real human body. It's probably something like that, but in my head, I'm like, I can visualize the best human posture of all time, but I just can't get it down on paper, which is really frustrating, and leads to a lot of scrapped artworks. But anyways, yeah, I'm excited to get focused on, like, those things more so, because, like, streaming is so public as well. Like, it's impossible not to be public by definition, right? Like, I don't know, maybe it would feel a little bit more comfy to me if I did something like YouTube videos instead of streaming for a bit, but for one, well, I guess I could do YouTube videos with slow upload speed, but it would be kind of miserable to upload big video files. Anyways, I'm not going to. That's where I want to end that. If I am going to upload anything to my YouTube channel, it's either going to be the TikToks that I mentioned. I'll probably get around to those at some point, like a few months in the future. Or it's going to be, like, personal, like, just projects of mine. Because I've got, like, a few animation projects that I would like to do. Similar vein to the one I did while I was on hiatus the first time. Though, yeah, I've got a few ideas of things I would like to do. Anyways, I would, you're not gonna see videos on my YouTube channel unless they're, like, you know, well-produced. Like, unless there's actual production behind the content. It's not gonna be this fucking bullshit I've been trying to shill out, like, no effort streams. Alright, I'm gonna put real effort into the content I make, which is exciting for me because I've gotten a lot of things that I've wanted to get around to, but, like, I don't know, streaming for whatever reason has taken priority for as long as it's been here, which shouldn't be the case. Like, I don't know what it is about streaming that, like, I can acknowledge to myself that streaming more is not a good thing, and honestly, the less you stream, the better, unless you, like, already have an audience. But I just can't help myself, I guess. I don't know. I do enjoy streaming. I genuinely do. But I can't necessarily say I'm going to miss it. I enjoy streaming while I'm streaming. I hate almost everything that surrounds it. And the feeling I get afterwards. So I'm gonna be glad to be taking a hiatus. A prolonged hiatus. And on so much better terms than last hiatus. Like, I don't know. Every time I think about the way things ended last time, I'm just like, I should have never let it get to this point. Like, I was so, like, I don't know, I had my nose like an inch away from the screen that I couldn't see what was going wrong with the situation until, like, everything was already falling apart. So, I'm glad it's not that way this time. I've taken a further back approach from things, so I can actually, I can realize when my head is getting too into it, and honestly, it's been a little too into it recently. It's gotten to the point where when I'm not streaming, I'm thinking about, like, when I'm going to stream next, which hasn't been a good feeling. Like, when streaming is occupying that much mental space, it starts to drag on you, and streaming becomes a less enjoyable prospect. Again, not that I ever don't enjoy myself while I'm live, because for the most part, I have a good time once I hit that button, but just everything that leads up to it and everything that comes after it, not a fan. So, okay, let's not die 80 times to world's easiest baby screen, please. Like, why the fuck did I die so many times there? I have no idea what was happening. Other than, like, well, probably the majority is just not focusing on the gameplay at all. But, that's what I do here. That's how I enjoy streaming. And those are the kinds of streams that I enjoy watching as well. I prefer when there's more of a focus on the content than on, I don't know, being good at video games. Sometimes that is the content, which is fine. But, yeah, I don't know. So long as you're aware what your content is, and you're making sure to prioritize that, that's all that matters. And I'm well aware that my content is not being good at video games. I've never planned for that to be the case. And, I think I've done fine for myself. Like, I don't know. I've got, like, a big head about my own streams where I think, like, I'm a decent streamer at the very least. Like, I can pat myself on the back a little bit. I have enough of my peers that say they enjoy my content that I can't feel too bad about my own streams, which I think has helped a lot as to my own mentality, is that this time around I've been talking to a lot more people, and I think the interviews with people have helped as well towards my own mentality on this kind of stuff. God damn it, dude. It's so bad. I couldn't think of how I wanted to get up there. But yeah, I've talked to people a lot more this time around and gotten input on other people's thoughts on streaming and how it gets to them. And it's helped a lot towards me finding like a healthier balance for it. And feeling better about my streams in general, which is nice, I guess. It's probably better for me to feel good about the content I'm making. Though it does kind of get in the way of my self-deprecating vibe at times. Alright, here we go. 9. Level 9. We're actually getting somewhere this time. I have a decent amount of lives left. Oh, no, I think I only have 1 continue left. I have an okay amount of lives left. I don't remember this area being too particularly hard, though, so maybe we'll actually see the final area. I would at least like to meet my old par, you know? If I could get back to, not the farthest I've ever been, but at least, like, the last area, the farthest area I've ever been. Okay. Got, like, no momentum off of that for some reason. I probably let go of the right arrow key a little bit too soon. I'll take ownership over that one. Yeah, anyways. I think I can talk about random dumb shit again. I feel like I didn't get, like, a really... I don't know. I guess I talked about Attack on Titan enough during that one race segment, but I feel like it probably... I should have maybe just not brought it up in that atmosphere, because for one, it's kind of annoying having to skirt around spoilers. Not that I'm annoyed by them caring about spoilers, I would too, but... it's just bad judgment on my part to not assume that I was gonna have to deal with that. I was, like, kind of just hoping that if they were familiar with Attack on Titan, they would be current with it, and, I wouldn't have to worry about that, but that's fine. I dealt with it anyways. It wasn't that big of a deal, but I feel like there's more that can be said about it, I guess. I feel like I didn't have the most clear discussion when I was A, skirting around spoilers, and B, not being interrupted, but, like, obviously in a group call with other people, having other people, voice their thoughts on it as well. So this is my me time. This is where I get to... And that was awesome on so many different levels. This is where I get to voice my full thoughts on Attack on Titan. For one, I just think that Attack on Titan is... Why am I jumping to the left there? I should have learned last time that it wasn't going to work, but beyond that, I can just stand still and be completely fine after jumping. Yeah, I think Attack on Titan is, like, really bad. Not just as far as, like, I don't know, certain obvious parallels that I don't think are really handled with the amount of delicacy they should be, but I also just think, like, the story has gotten so much worse. And also the pacing of the anime, which I talked a little bit about, but I think that that's, like, very secondary to the actual issues I have with the show, which are primarily just thinking that it has, like, just, I don't know, the story really falls apart, ever since, well, maybe this is just my issues with Eren as a character, but Eren is, like, maybe not so in the most recent parts of the anime/manga, but he's mostly protag status, so he's pretty relevant to the story. Eren has never been a good character, for one. But for 2, he has, like, plausibly the worst, like, character arcs out of any character in any media property I've ever seen, more or less. As far as any media property that people highly regard as, like, I don't know, respectable content. Which I don't really see Attack on Titan as being that. But, like, ever since Eren needed to... I don't even remember exactly how the exact story plot elements went at this part of the anime. It was so long ago, so don't judge me for forgetting exactly how the events went out, but, like, the feelings that the character of Eren stuck in my mind well enough to, you know, elevate themselves in memory slightly higher than the boring story plot lines that are, I don't know, bad for the most part. But whenever Eren was getting the hardening ability by eating, I don't know, I think he had to eat someone, right? He had to, like, eat someone, and he just really didn't want to. And all of a sudden, his entire character and demeanor changed. And he was just this massive crybaby for, like, a handful of episodes. And all of a sudden, he's, like, back to normal. He's better. I mean, Eren has never had... He's not a real character. Like, it just feels like everything that happens to Eren is just exactly what the writer wants to happen to Eren, regardless of whether it makes sense for him to act that way. And in many cases, it doesn't. It doesn't make any sense for Eren to act the way that Eren acts. Like, I don't know, man. Anyway, so, yeah. That's when it first queued off to me. I'm just gonna talk on main menu here, because I don't care to start another one. I don't want to be committed if I'm done with my Attack on Titan talk, and honestly... Attack on Titan is the only thing I can think of to bring up at this point. Like, the only other thing I've been doing other than Attack on Titan is, like, a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, I started another Elden Ring playthrough. I'm using daggers only and not leveling Vigor, which has been fun. It's been pretty fun. I'm glad I actually got to fight Margit for the first time since I first tried the boss on my first playthrough, and thought it was a joke boss. Turns out, only kind of a joke boss. It's a fun fight. I enjoy the Margit fight. It was much better when I didn't just destroy him with the Bloodhound's Fang. Daggers suck ass, for one. Like, they really do no damage whatsoever. So you're relying solely on the bleed, which, I mean, hasn't been the biggest issue so far. Bleed is not that much damage. It's 15% of bosses' HP, and almost all bosses get increased immunity to bleed on subsequent bleeds, up to, like, 3, I think. 3 is when their immunity is at their highest, but usually takes a full 4 bleeds to kill a boss. So, to work that math out in your head, roughly 60%, sometimes it might have even taken 5 bleeds on Godric, if I remember right. I might be misremembering, but 60 to 75% of the boss's HP being dealt by bleed alone, 25 to 40% being done by the daggers, shows you how little damage daggers do. They don't do much. Like, just for reference, because I thought I was going insane with how low the damage was against Margit. Like, I think I was actually doing, like, 10 damage per hit on Margit. I swapped over to Straight Sword, just like a fucking whatever the fuck Straight Sword I found, just to see if I was going insane. And, no, that did, like, 100 damage per hit, so it's just daggers do no fucking damage. And also, you will never stagger a boss with daggers. To be fair, I'm not spamming jump attacks. Maybe if I was doing jump attacks, it would help slightly more, but, like, the jump attacks just feel so weak on the daggers that I doubt it would do that much more posture damage. Maybe it does? maybe I should be doing that, but I have yet to stagger a single boss. I just killed second rune shard bearer. I killed the wizard lady, Rhea Lucaria boss. It's been fun. I've enjoyed it, but there's not much to talk about there, so I'll just... Yeah, the only other thing I've been playing in this stressful week, since I haven't really had the time to commit to Elden Ring, is I've just been playing a fucking marker collecting Roblox game with my girlfriend. And that's all I've been doing, so that's not super fun to talk about. Let's talk about Attack on Titan briefly, and then I'm gonna cut stream. And yeah, I don't know. When you next see me, I'll probably look pretty different, probably act pretty different, probably be pretty different. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I would hope that I would be different in a year's time. And yeah, I don't know. You'll see. We'll all see what I look like in a year. But aside the point. Point is, let's get it over with. let's wrap this up. Let's talk about Attack on Titan. Yeah, Eren is an awful character who whose emotions are all over the place and just seem to fit an incredibly forced narrative the writer wants to instill within Eren. He almost never acts in a way that makes sense or goes in line with certain character traits that have been described as Eren-like. Like, Eren is not a very Eren-like individual. He goes all over the place. He's not a believable character. He just doesn't feel like a real, believable person, which is what you want when writing a character most of the time. So, just off the bat, it's probably difficult for most people to get into a story where they just can't see the character as believable in the slightest. But there are worse things in Attack on Titan than Eren Yeager, that's for sure. Story kind of just falls apart after the big reveal, the big twisty. I will be talking about spoilers, by the way, so if you don't want Attack on Titan spoilers, just fucking, like, exit, just leave at this point, because that's all that's gonna be talked about from this point forward. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if there's any good way to look at what the story is trying to portray with the twist that it has. And that, like, the narrative seems to want the viewer to agree that Eldians deserve to be punished in some way, or at the very least, the narrative seems to push the belief that they should be controlled to some degree, that they can't be trusted to some degree, that if they aren't kept in check, their power will go out of hand to some degree. And that's kind of what the whole build up to this fucking, what is it called? Like the shakening, the awakening, the big stumble wumbly where he lets the Titans out of the wall. Anyways, you get the point. Yeah, I don't know. There's like this fucking Cold War-esque narrative where, like, they feel like they need to keep pressure and keep them hostage to some degree to avoid this from happening or whatever. I guess the biggest issue I have with the narrative and the writing is that, like, it is leaving it up to interpretation what is agreeable. Like, it is so up to interpretation what the writer wants you to think at any given moment. And there are certainly ways that can be done well. I think that Whiplash is a great example where at the end of Whiplash, you're left feeling kind of gross and like, what is the narrative supposed to tell you? That it was worth it? Which I don't think, for one, is what the narrative of Whiplash is supposed to say. I think the narrative of Whiplash is more akin to, I don't know, if you work yourself that hard, that will be everything to you, and it's not good for anything to be everything to you. And certainly, I forget the name of the composer, but certainly, even if, you know, he was impressed at the end, he wouldn't be satisfied. Aside the point. Anyway, Whiplash tangent. I think that it can be done well for a writer to leave certain things ambiguous and up to interpretation, and I don't think that Whiplash is like a bad story or showcases a bad narrative or moral at the end of it at all. I think it very clearly throughout the entirety of the movie showcases like why this is an awful thing to do, to the point where, like, you know, that composer's previous like star icon that he was pushing super hard killed himself. And I think that is, I mean, that's the crux of the narrative of Whiplash. I don't think that Whiplash is even too ambiguous, is I guess what I leave it at. I guess, like, yes, at the end of Whiplash, it doesn't explicitly show the composer being like, I'm not satisfied yet, or anything. Like, it doesn't explicitly give a message flat out saying, like, this was still bad, you know? But, I think it's obvious throughout the rest of the movie, which I wouldn't say is clear throughout the rest of Attack on Titan. I mean, just from start to finish, Attack on Titan has, like, a very imperialist, like, fetishization with the military. Which, I don't know, just kind of progressively gets worse and worse as the story progresses. Like, military is always seen as an absolute power and an answer to every problem. So, yeah, it's kind of questionable in that degree alone, leaving out the much more controversial relationship between Eldians and the rest of the world. Primarily Marlians, I guess, but the rest of the world as well. And I think the rest of the world is an important aspect, too, because, like, that is a large degree of why it is so morally ambiguous. Like, what the show wants you to think is that, like, nobody really stands up for the Eldians, and the only people or group of people that have been shown to cooperate with the Eldians are only doing so out of personal gain and greed. That is the only reason the show has, you know, deemed as a just case for, you know, helping the Eldians in any way, shape, or form, is out of personal gain in some way or another. I don't know. I feel like I've talked enough about Attack on Titan. I could go in depth on certain elements, but I feel like that pretty well summarizes my thoughts on the thing as a whole. I don't respect the writer at all. I mean, what I said during that race was true. I mean, the actual writer is like, and he admitted, which is not funny to joke about, but he is a legit Japanese imperialist far-right individual who denies war crimes committed by Japan's history and wants to reinstate the Japanese military because of how everybody knows how well things went last time. I'm not going to say that, you know, Japan as an independent country does not have a right to military. It's not necessarily what I mean when I say that. It's just that, I mean, I don't know how many people know this about Japan, but Japan is like a pretty far right-leaning country. I mean, they did sign or side with Germany in the whole World War II thing. I mean, I'm not going to say the majority of Japan is like this, but there is certainly a lot of, you know, what we in the West would call neo-Nazis, but for Japan. A lot of Japanese nationalists, and yeah, anyway, I don't need to get into politics at this point, but I don't respect the writer of Attack on Titan, and I don't respect their work. And I think that's all I need to say. I'm still gonna watch it to completion, but I'll have everybody know I haven't paid a single penny on it, so... arrest me, coppers. Anyways. That's it. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for sticking with me through all my bullshit, my woes and my whines and my complaints and my everything else. Yeah, I might come back one day. I don't know. It's weird to say it like that because that sounds sad and it sounds like I'm apathetic towards this whole streaming thing. It's not that I don't care. I would love to come back to streaming. The only thing stopping me is I don't think I would ever come back to streaming unless I was guaranteed an audience in some fashion. I just can't see myself wanting to go back to streaming to, like, nobody again, basically. Like, I know it's just not the right way to go about streaming. So, like, I'm not upset by it, and I'm not upset about the streams I've had. I think that, you know, ever since the end of last hiatus, I've been doing, like, the best streams I've ever done. Like, I've felt better about my ability to stream than I ever have. I just think it's, like, not worth prioritizing, so it's kind of a happy accident that I'm also going to be unable to stream, and that's kind of out of my control. But even when I am able to stream again, after, you know, I move, or, like, the internet situation gets fixed in the apartment complex, probably not gonna. I'm probably just gonna milk this break for as long as possible, and if I ever make a return to streaming, it will be with purpose. But until then, I'm gonna be focusing much more on the things that I know I can get traction on, and I think that's better for everyone. So that's it. I think I said it all. I think I said everything I needed to. Again, thank you for anybody who has watched me. I'm sorry if you enjoy my content that I'm not going to be around in the same capacity, at least. Like I said, I'm still going to be making stuff, but I'm not going to be streaming. So yeah, sorry if you like it, but there's better things coming, so don't be too upset. And yeah, I'll be excited to come back if I ever do come back, but until then, I'm even more excited to get to working on the things that I care about most. So, see ya. Thank you.